I'm going to talk about building tools and sort of some of the thoughts that building Unity has led us to have about tools. As mentioned, we started this company 15 years ago. If you don't know it, it's really not too relevant for the talk, except it's a platform that developers, creators, creative people use to build games. But it's also sort of a platform on which people build tools for each other. That's really the core of it. And through some, well, really insanely hard work and fighting and back alleys, brawling, we made it so that this now is powering roughly half the game industry. And with the new platforms, virtual reality and augmented reality, 3D and game-like experiences and apps are basically going to be everything, which is kind of cool. So that means that we have this platform which powers a very large section of all app development. And since apps are kind of the biggest economic force in modern times, it's kind of a big responsibility. And we've been lucky and smart and all these things, and are very proud to have 1,400 people building this product for several million people using it on a regular basis. Now, I used to be CEO, which was very busy and a lot of crazy work. Now I'm not. I'm on the board, and that let me have a bit more time to think about the meaning of what we've done and sort of the responsibilities of not just Unity, but all of you guys, because I know that many people here are the people building the future of technology, the different platforms, and building tools for each other. A conference like this could be argued to be a tool as well. And in fact, when you start thinking sort of back to the origins of our industry, where things came from, you start realizing that tools is such a fundamental thing. In fact, you can look further back and realize that tools is, well, you could sort of view all of civilization through the lens of tools and tool making, and tools on which you build tools on which you build tools. This guy said once that he was very inspired by this thing, the Whole Earth Catalog. Does anyone actually know this thing? Oh, a few people. Okay, it's really cool. My father had it when I was a kid. He was not quite the hippie generation, but apparently he was inspired enough by them. So it is like a catalog to help people build their lives, to be independent, to farm, to build houses. Whatever you needed, you could find in this catalog. Everything was mail order, which I guess was sort of the previous, the thing before the internet. And it was not just products, but actually like guides, how-tos about building all kinds of things, growing things, farming things, to live independent lives and build communities and so on. Really cool thing. That was originally written in '68. I think it was a yearly thing. It was quite cheap. Everyone could kind of afford it. And the slogan for this thing was access to tools. And as I'm thinking about this, it leads to a lot of philosophizing about tools. So if you look at all the technology products, or actually just all the kind of products in the world, you end up kind of, you can lay them out on kind of a gradient. This is how my brain works. I think it's very useful to kind of make gradients of things. So there's like things that are not so much tools. Arguably, there's nothing that cannot be used as a tool somehow, so I don't think there's nothing that's not a tool. But anyway, there's not too much. There's the proper tools, and then there's the tools that help you make tools, which are sort of the most powerful, interesting products, I think. Now, the latest of these tools is machine learning, AI, neural networks, which are kind of crazy because it's a tool to build tools to build tools. They basically essentially solve optimization problems in a way that would require a lot of manual work by very clever programmers otherwise. So basically now the programs are being written by these networks based on a lot of data, which sort of starts going to the very far right of this spectrum. So all of capitalism is based on tools, and capitalism has the ability to create amazing things and completely ridiculous things. Yeah, I like capitalism. I think it's served us well. Definitely served me well. and it creates wonderful things. It creates incentives to make amazing things, but it also has these incentives to make really, really ridiculous things. There's actually things that are much worse on the far left there. And why is this? It comes from the sort of the optimization problem that we let capitalism solve. The utility function we give capitalism will produce these things. Same in culture. Culture spans from sort of solving vestigial urges, things that are sort of leftovers from evolution, to sort of analyzing the meaning of what it means to be a human. Again, you give a utility function to culture, to people, and it produces all these things. So you end up with these kind of gradients, and they produce amazing things, and we are all here kind of the beneficiaries and the creators of these things. But there's something kind of screwed up with these tools. Like tools can be kind of creative. They can make other tools. But there's sort of, I think, quite significant problems right now, and challenges. Software is eating the world. The people writing code are displacing industries and economical structures that don't write code. It's good for us. It's also kind of messy for the world. There's these very powerful forces at play that have best been analyzed by Ben Thompson of Stratechery, where the big companies have found an ability to aggregate our markets in a way that makes them kind of like black holes of capitalism. Really, really heavy structures that right now don't seem to be unseatable. And sort of where they pull in the tools to be internal rather than external and so on, which makes real problems because now we're losing some of these tools and some of the ability to kind of build these most advanced things out in the free culture. Like I mentioned earlier, AI networks, when given utility functions that are problematic, for instance, like if you're an AI and you're really operating the biggest social network in the world, and the utility function is to make more ad revenue, you can actually be incentivized to do crazy things like get Trump elected and things like that. That's actually, I'm not saying that's actually what happened, but if you actually just let the network run Facebook, that's what would happen. And it did, which is sort of scary. So really kind of my passionate plea to you guys, being kind of the whole world of technology represented in this room, is to kind of, when we're building things, try to build tools that build tools. Try to be focused on things that are actually productive for other people and share them with each other in a productive manner. That's what we focused on at Unity, and I think that's kind of what generates some of the most valuable products that capitalism and our culture can make. I'll just throw it back momentarily to the Whole Earth Catalog, which in '68 wrote a manifest for the catalog, and really I don't think anyone has been able to formulate a better manifest since. So just put it up there and read it. We are the gods. We are as gods and might as well get good at it. Remote power, as via government, big business, formal education, has succeeded to the point where gross defects obscure actual gains. Still the same. Realm of intimate personal power is developing. Power of the individual to conduct her own education, find her own inspiration, shape her own environment, and share her adventure with whoever is interested. Tools that aid this process are sought and promoted by the Whole Earth Catalog. So that's really kind of my plea, and please remember this and do work on it. It's possible, and it's also possible to make it work inside the framework of capitalism. So yeah, good luck with that. I think we may also get questions. If we do, let's see if we can get them up there. Or you could just shout. That's cool too.
Let's see. Maybe we can get the Slido app up on the screen and see if we can get some questions. In the meantime, why don't we get somebody from the audience? Do you mind giving me one of those mics that I can throw? Thank you so much. If you can activate one of those, and you get your questions ready, and we'll be throwing this little cute mic. Now, should work. Anybody here who has a question? Raise your hands high. Yes, right there. Okay, I'm going to try. You ready? Whoops, not quite. Have you used this before? As a black part that you speak into.
This bit, is this
Yes,
working?
that's right.
Okay. I'm curious, you mentioned absurd tools. What are the other absurd tools that you didn't put on your slide along with vitamin water, in your opinion?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear that.
In one of your early slides, you had tools that were very useful on one side, on the right, and tools that were less useful on the left. Vitamin water was one example. You said there were many, many more examples. What would you give?
No, I like the sort of the fruits of capitalism. No, I don't want to shout too much at people, but vitamin water is at least harmless, right? So you can go much further and much more destructive on the left of that gradient, of course.
Examples.
All the really unhealthy stuff.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Right, raise your hands high.
So
All right, thank you
question
for
is,
pointing this out.
What is my favorite tool beside Unity? I don't know. Actually, I haven't used Unity for more than a decade now because I was just running the company. So, favorite tools? Oh, of course, my smartphone, which I left out there. It's just the most amazing of all things. Having like all of computing in your pocket, it's pretty wild.
Cool, here's another one. How do you add morality when creating tools?
Yes, tools that create tools are great, but yeah. So I think it's about making them flexible and making them to be platforms for further development and more creation. And then creating a framework around it to help people share what they built to kind of power. I mean, tools at the end are sort of how do you say, like a multiplier on the work, right? It multiplies the value of labor. So the more you let people augment that and build on top of each other, the higher value of labor becomes, which is sort of a key to a functioning kind of middle class and like normal people actually making a living.
Excellent. Now this last question probably only you understand, but who is dog?
What?
Does that make any sense?
No, not
Okay.
to me.
Sorry guys. Here's one more for you, okay?
Yeah.
How does Unity specifically empower tool developers?
Sure. So if you, again, it gets technical, right? It's a game engine, it's a platform on which you build your game. But beside that, the whole tool is sort of programmable. So what people end up doing in their studios is build little tools and toolets to kind of empower, like to make things easier, to make things faster. And then some of the best tools from that community find their way out into a marketplace that we created, where basically everyone in the community has access to all these tools. So it sort of becomes tools upon tools upon tools.